ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the stream. I hope everybody's had at least a passable week, and are enjoying the weekend as it is going so far. I've been looking forward to doing this. I was going to do it last night, but there was a bunch of things. My mind was not in the right place because, unfortunately, this wonderful place that I have, I'm going to have to start looking for a new place, which is how these things go. It's not entirely unexpected. My landlord's quite old, and various circumstances are kind of forcing a bit of a change, and unfortunately I'm caught up in it. It's not immediate, so don't panic, but there's going to be some changes going on, it has to be said. So yes, my mind was not in the right place last night, so I apologise for the delay, but here we are. We have a stream. I did treat myself to one of these over the for my birthday. It's vodka, which I'm kind of looking forward to having a try. I will, at the end of the stream, I will have a little skull full of that. It's all about heads. Very quiet. Okay. How's that sound? Hopefully that's a little bit better. I don't know what's happened with the settings there. There we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Where's Indy? 1, 2. Okay. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Let me just adjust something in the settings as well. No doubt, because I was playing Rocksmith last night, and that probably reset a whole bunch of things. So if we go into there, levels, yeah, it's taking the levels down. There we go. That's a bit more like it. I'm a technician. That should be much better. There we go. Brilliant. But yeah, things are changing. Can't sit around sulking about it. There may be an opportunity which seems probably quite a good option. But there you go. Anyway, I guess I've been rigging up my my PC, my laptop down here, my ThinkPad, to be a retro games machine as well as my astrophotography rig. And I've been kind of setting something up on it. So, Evil Dead PS2 Regeneration. How cool is that? That's doing some weird stuff. Oh, no, there we go. I haven't had a chance to really start playing this again, because I did play it before, but I did start playing it before, and I did a little bit of a stream of some of that, but it was quite a while ago. But I'd never actually got around to completing a game, and I'm looking forward to doing that. Hopefully, if I take it to work, I'll be able to play it on a socking great big screen and stuff like that. Wow, ThinkPad, that's a throwback, but an awesome machine. Yes, it is an awesome machine. That's I got to get one which is a bit more up to date, because that is like a Gen 6. I need like at least a Gen 8 or a Gen 9 to have it survive the next few years. Because Windows are going, yeah, we're not going to let you use the latest version of Windows because that thing doesn't have the correct security protocols and that kind of stuff, which is a little bit annoying. Thank you for the happy birthdays. It was my birthday on Wednesday. Didn't really do anything because I found myself working, didn't I? And of course, I was supposed to be at jury service this week. That fell through. Monday, it's looking like I'm actually going to be doing that. But obviously, I didn't have much time to kind of sort anything out. So I sat at home like a sad lemon and had a couple of beers. I kind of caught up with things a little bit last night as well, so it wasn't too bad. Hello, John. It's good to see you, mate. Talking about John, because John, as I've mentioned before, is he's been making films for years now. The first film that we're going to watch, and I'll give you the heads up now, is going to be a film called Chain. It's a short, it's a 20-minute thing, and it's by a couple of the people I went to university with. and I thought it'd be a nice thing to show, partly to show, kind of like you can do stuff. They've got good equipment and stuff like that, but they've had to build up to that. They went to university, they did the film stuff, and they're making movies. I was going to show another one, which is a feature-length one, but I think I'm going to show that another day, potentially. Which is it's not too expensive. It's like a £5 to rent, if at £4 or £5 to rent. This one, Chain, is only like 99p to rent, or about £2.99 to buy. So if you follow the link, I believe I put the link in the description, and if you want to watch along, then pop along there, get that sorted out, and we'll get started in a little while. Keep getting the upgrade option, but I'm happy with Win 10. It's worth doing the upgrade if you can. Obviously, there's a bit of a problem with Windows, in that they've just decided certain things, like anything below Gen 8 Intel it's not worth supporting, which is really annoying. There are workarounds, but they might try to close the loop on that, unfortunately. Is it a student film? No, it's not a student film. These guys are professionals now. It's a small company. They've been kind of like putting stuff into festivals and things like that, and this one did particularly well. So I'm kind of keen to see what you think about it. It's hard to do worse than anything I mean, Glenn and Kerry Kenitas. Oh dear. You shouldn't be too hard on yourself. It's a learning process apart from anything else. But you can do all sorts of stuff. Amazon says Chain has won over 20 accolades. Good stuff. Yes, and I hope you get to see why it's actually got something. It's a quite beautifully made film. And yeah. Can't watch it. It's geo-locked me. Really? That's unusual. I mean, it's not like you're in kind of, far-flung Asia. It's a little bit weird, but yeah, I can't guarantee everybody's going to be able to watch it. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with the way they've hosted it on Amazon, which is a bit annoying. But there you go. A couple of pickups that I got. I don't know if I've shown you this one before, but I did pick up the Blu-ray of Creepshow, which is I'd lost the DVD. I had the case and everything like that, but I'd lost the DVD. So I had the second DVD from the double pack, and I've put it into this one. Now I've got Creepshow again, which is good. A little bit more of a commercial. I say a little bit more, a lot more of a commercial one. My brother kind of recommended. I watched it, and I like the Guardians of the Galaxy, so I picked up Volume 3, and it's very good. It's very good. It's my favourite part of the Marvel universe, is the Guardians of the Galaxies. I've enjoyed every one of them, and I enjoy James Gunn as a director, mostly because he spends a lot of time, working on characters and that kind of thing. So it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. You love Creepshow, yes. It's a very lovable film. Dear. I have a script knocking about. No one seems to be interested in it. Kind of disheartening. Cause, I know it sounds a little bit kind of glib. It sounds a lot easier when you say it fast. Play around with filming, at least bits of it, and see what you come up with. If you go from start to finish with whatever scripts you've written, that's always going to be quite difficult to do. But gather a couple of friends, see what you can do. I mean, Peter Jackson started out like that. It was just a few friends. Really want the Blu-ray of Creepshow 2. Bit expensive. Romero and crew were really on form in that movie. Yes, they were. Yeah. Really like the Guardians of the Galaxy films. They're a bit silly, but they have a lovely message. Yeah, they're really quite warm films. I know Josh hates it because he considers them to be over sentimental, and they are sentimental. There is a sentimentality in them, but I think it's well handled. I mean, talking sentimental, I also did pick up E.T. on Blu-ray. I'd been watching Lindsay Ellis's review, which is on like Nebula these days, and I kind of went, I haven't seen this film in such a long time. I think the last time I saw this was when it was at the cinema, right? That long ago. It's very, very, very long time ago. So I've picked it up and thought give it another try. See how I feel about it these days. It's kind of Spielberg, in his prime, really. And the last one I've got to show you at this point, and I'll say just get yourselves queued up for Chain if you can. We'll get started in just a little while. This one I had ordered a long time ago. I'd pre-ordered it, and then the pre-order got cancelled, and I never got around to getting it again. But Mardi Gras Massacre, finally got it on the Blu-ray. So I'm going to be looking forward to watching that. It's one of those, it's a bit of a guilty pleasure. It is a almost entirely bad film on so many levels. It's a huge rip-off of Blood Feast, obviously. But I got to say, I just love William Mezzo's acting in it. It's so off and weird and kooky. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to watching it. Apparently, there's an interview with William Mezzo and the director on this, so I'm going to be kind of interested to see some of that. It's one of those video nasties that it's kind of, you sort of wonder why it ended up on the list, and not everybody's gotten the chance to see it either, so it's rather good that it's got a Blu-ray. There won't be many people that love it. Let's be fair, but yeah. Lindsay Ellis is doing videos again. I thought she'd retired to focus on novels. She still does video essays and stuff like that. And I know not everybody likes her. I actually have a tremendous amount of respect for her writing. Even when I disagree with her, I just find it. I find her very engaging and interesting. Because she talks about a lot of films that I wouldn't necessarily talk about apart from anything else, or even think about that much. She takes those bits of pop culture and really kind of puts a lot of heart and soul into the writing and thinking about those kind of things. So it's kind of good. Thoughts on Creepshow 3? I have that somewhere. I watched it once. I wasn't massively impressed. I don't think it's as bad as some people say it is. I think it would have stood a better chance if it hadn't been called Creepshow, frankly. That was on earlier, and Lexi commented that when Elliot sets out from the garage at the start of the houses look awfully similar to the ones in Poltergeist. Oh dear. Yeah, I that's part of Lindsay Ellis's video essay. She had kind of like the test shoots, the audition shoot of for the character of Elliot, and Henry Thomas just absolutely fucking nailed it. It's amazing. You see this young lad who just delivers this incredibly emotional, very genuine performance. So fair play to him. He's still acting as well, which is kind of cool. Don't believe in returning hate with hate. I've enjoyed some of her videos. Yeah, she got caught up in a lot of kind of crappy baggage, unfortunately. But I've always had massive respect for her writing, apart from anything else. I don't know too many people who could convince me to buy a copy of E.T. before. Because, it's not one of those films I've thought about an awful lot. But, having seen that, I kind of went, yeah, I'm going to have to rewatch that. It's good. It's good. I do enjoy good writing. When it comes to these things, thoughtful writing, even if I don't agree with, what's being said. Film criticism shouldn't have to devolve into kind of like slanging matches and you're this, you're that, you're the other because you like this movie. And that's why I've walked away from a lot of a lot of commentators, particularly regarding the kind of Star Wars sequel trilogy, which I agree is terrible, but some of the vitriol that went around, kind of like regarding that movie is quite stunning. Elliot returned for an advert. Okay. You deserve many more. Yeah. Oh, where we're looking. Congrats on passing 1,000 subscribers. Well done. Well done, John. It takes time. It's a lot harder these days than it used to be. When I started getting subs originally, it kind of like, it's very, very slow till I hit about a couple of hundred. Then it just kind of shot along a bit because YouTube was pushing the stuff a lot more. These days they make it a lot harder. But there you go. Do you disagree with Lindsay? Voice struck me as left-leaning, though, not in the sense that you're at war with the other side or can't find common ground with them. I am left-leaning. Not as left-leaning as some people. It's kind of complicated when it comes to politics if you think about that kind of stuff. But no, I don't want to feel like I'm at war, although there are certain elements on, because I won't go too far down this rabbit hole, but right-wing politics these days has become increasingly radicalized. You could say the same about certain aspects of the left, but at the moment the right is a lot more concerning, in my opinion. When you look at American politics and quite how crazy that's gotten, that you've got politicians basically advocating for demolishing government and making government less about serving the people than it is serving the donors. That's kind of worrying, but there you go. I won't go too far with that because otherwise we don't want to degenerate, do we? We want to have fun tonight. So start giving me a thumbs up when you're ready to watch Shane, and we'll get cracking with that. I finally found my copy of Pink Floyd's The Wall. There's a couple of albums I want to pick up. I picked up a bit of music sort of just recently. I just got a couple of Anthrax albums as well. So my tastes are kind of diverse. But I've been meaning to get hold of a good copy of Dark Side of the Moon at some point as well. So some might say I'm a little bit behind the curve on that kind of stuff. But Pink Floyd have a lot of connections with the place I live. So it's hard not to start having it going off in your head when you sort of walk past one of the founder members' house on the way to work. For Crystal Plumage, are you using the copy on the channel? The geologist, yes. Kerry very kindly found that better version. I changed it in the description, so you should be able to find it there. Dear, oh dear. Loved Henry Thomas in The Fall of the House of Usher and Midnight Mass. It was great to see him again. He's a damn good actor, actually. Certainly was as a kid. Holy fuck! When you see that, if you ever get the chance to, or Google it later on, the audition shoot for Henry Thomas for E.T. And my God, I mean, you can hear Steven Spielberg get in. He goes, yeah, well done, kid. You got the job immediately, and it was, thoroughly deserved. It's kind of amazing. I mean, even it blew me away, and I was just like kind of casually sort of watching it as part of something else. So, yes. Okay, so Collector Adams. Okay, we'll just get a couple more thumbs up, and then we'll get going. It is. They have Profondo Rosso now. Yes, they do. It's not many on that channel. How long it will survive, I don't know, but they do good quality versions of the films. But yeah, it's been a funny old week, one way or another. Not kind of expecting to go to the jury duty, and then I was in work all week, and it was a bit of a slow, arduous week to say the least. But yeah, there you go. You can't argue too much. That audition is something else. Yes, it is. So Indie Phantom's seen it. I'm gonna be watching this weekend though, for sure. Henry Thomas was in a movie I love, Legends of the Fall, great sprawling drama. Edward Zick, also awesome performance, good singing voice too. Yeah, it does make you wonder why he wasn't a lot bigger, doesn't it? But then again, maybe it was just do a film like E.T., you're going to have baggage, aren't you? In the eyes of people who are casting and all that kind of stuff. But my God, I think he was incredible in that. Used to look down on E.T. because it had more of a emotion in Indiana Jones and Jaws, but I've changed over the years. I think it is one of those films that there's a lot going on in it. I think there's a lot of people would be very quick to dismiss a film because of the Spielbergian sort of sentimentality, which is in all of his films to one degree or another, particularly in E.T. But certainly, kind of like in his like best days, his golden years of filmmaking, it was one of those things he handles really well. And I feel the same about James Gunn as well. The way he handles kind of emotions and stuff. And some people say, the comedy always kicks in and sort of diffuses it. That's a fair criticism. But it's never jarred too badly with me. So I've always kind of, enjoyed it. Oh, by the way, watched Murder Set Pieces last week. Yeah, it sucked. It's awful, isn't it? I have 2 copies of that. Hang on. There we go. You know what? I spent half an hour trying to find my copy of Guardians of the Galaxy this afternoon. And I know exactly where my Murder Set Pieces DVDs are. So I bought... Which version was it? I think I bought that one, right? Not knowing that there was a NC-17 R-rated versions of the film. So that's like that's the R-rated version, and that's the NC-17 version. One of my viewers said she'd had a copy, and she was never going to watch it again. Do I want it? And I kind of went, yeah. I've been lucky like that on a few occasions. Like Scream for Justice and stuff like that. A couple of films have been sent to me by people who have got them, and they're like, you'll probably make better use of it than me. So lucky because I found MSP tucked away at the back of a drawer of DVDs at a small bookstore where I used to live. As long as it wasn't too expensive. I didn't want to have to buy it twice, and I was doing the review, and it's obvious when you watch the cut version how heavily cut it is. I would say it's probably not even worth watching, particularly for the curiosity, because of how controversial it was in this country, particularly. But it's not great. It's not great. I mean, I kind of feel that the director was trying to do a sort of this Nazi type character is the bad guy kind of thing, but sort of really fumbled the ball on that, to say the least. But there you go. All right, guys, let's start having a watch of Chain. Like I say, it's 20 minutes, so it's nice and quick. So we'll get cracking in just a moment. I haven't seen too many thumbs up. I've had one, I think, or two. Adam's giving me a thumbs up, so yeah, okay, so at in 1 minute's time we will get started, because otherwise we'll be here all evening with me just rabbiting along. And yeah, MSP was a letdown. Yes, it's not worth the infamy, because it has a certain amount of baggage attached to it, to say the least. And it's always a problem when you get certain directors try to do, kind of characters with these sort of like extreme Nazi kind of things. Falling Down did it really well with the character that they had in that, the guy in the prepper type in the shop. murder set pieces and hate crime, and just did not work in that respect. They don't really kind of zero in on what that character is and how to sort of address the horrible kind of things that they do. But there you go. All right, folks, we are going to get started. So it's going to on that stop. Okay, right, we will get cracking. So we're going to start with Chain. I hope everybody's actually managed to sort of get hold of it. If you haven't, I don't know what to say. Hopefully you're going to give my friends a little bit of cash. It ain't much, it's quite cheap. Right, okay, so we'll get started on count of 5 and go on go. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's full screen it. Should have asked my friend if he'd just give me a copy to stream. Now, this film does have a very kind of limited number of sets and stuff like that. But it's all sort of really kind of based, for the most part, just in this corridor. Which is a good example of, if you haven't got much money, you can always do something, even if you scout a location or something like this. And there's an awful lot you can do about it. One of the striking things about this film in particular is the lighting. Being a lighting guy myself, I sort of really kind of key in to that kind of stuff. Just watch Falling Down again before that. Neo-Nazi was a bit entertained, but very Hollywoodized. To an extent, yeah. He's a very extreme kind of character, isn't he? But it was an interesting one, and it kind of like they played the the relationship between the two characters was quite interestingly done. And bear in mind, Falling Down's really a film from his, Michael Douglas's character's eyes. You get this kind of colour kind of treatment to the film, which is sort of kind of sickly and stuff. I'm not sure if I'm 100% sort of sold on the colour grading, but it kind of works. But, you've got this guy sort of walking down the corridor and he's coming in and out of lights. There's various sorts of things going on. Strange, kind of like there's lights which sort of highlight the structure of the place that he's in. And that's something that, thinking about those kind of things when you're doing filmmaking is very important. You want to sculpt light you want it to kind of lend depth, and there's the old kind of cliche of it's as much about what you don't see as what you do see, as you see in this shot here, with the end of the corridor is just dark. Ah, yes, nice one, John. See, that shot where it lights up down the corridor is just so nicely handled. Not least because of the kind of like the variations in the colours. There's all kind of stuff going on there. You see the shape of the corridor and the doors that are coming off and all that kind of stuff, which is very, very cool. But there's stuff like the way it lights up, the kind of boom, 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 boom sort of thing going on. Plus, the attack of the lights going on and off and stuff like that, which is something I'd have to think about when I'm lighting theatre, as a for instance. There's a lot to think about with lighting. It's not just about making things visible. It's about conveying or enhancing certain feelings. Now, this is a film that has absolutely zero dialogue in it. You pretty much only hear his voice once or twice, and it's kind of like in Screams, if I remember right. It's a very psychological film as well. There's a lot going on with the way that the world is sort of presented. It's like it's this guy. It informs you what the character's actually sort of going through and how he sees this almost nebulous kind of threat that's going on around him. It's almost like a peek through the eyes of a paranoid schizophrenic or something like that. And not that I could diagnose the guy. That's a bad thing to do, but it's a very minimalist piece in so many respects. And that's what's important to kind of understand, I think, is that you can do a lot with very little. Now, these guys had, great equipment and some very, very talented people around them. I mean, the cinematography is really good. The lighting is absolutely amazing. Apparently, from what I understand, Christopher Reith, who's the director, actually storyboarded just about everything. Look at the lighting on that, with the lights sort of flickering on and off. We've got a colour temperature change as well, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, he storyboarded the entire thing to within an inch of its life. Which is kind of an important part of the process, when you're filming stuff like that. Have an idea of what it is you're actually trying to film. Don't just generally just rocking up and pointing a camera is not necessarily a good way to do things. It can work for some directors, but you've got a much more efficient process if you know what it is that you want to shoot, what it is you're trying to achieve at the end of the day, and particularly with something like this, which is a very tight. It's a very tight little film. It's very, it's 20 minutes. So you've got to do a lot in very little time. Yeah, you do actually, Indy. It's interesting. Dawn of the Dead, trying to light that space was apparently quite a challenge because it's such big, huge open spaces. That's an enormous kind of task to actually do without making everything sort of really obvious. I mean, the way that these guys light this film is kind of, how I approach theatrical lighting. Much to the chagrin of some of the lecturers who go, I got to see everybody's faces. It's like, why? Why do you need to see everybody's faces? Why do you need to see absolutely everything? You just need to see what you need to see. I'm not saying plunge everybody into darkness, but, you can half light people and just make depth, which you wouldn't imagine you'd have to do on a stage because it's a big space. But believe me, you can make a stage very, very flat if all you do is illuminate. Just picking things, what it is you want to see. You can tell how many lighting rigs are in a scene by spotting the reflections in an actor's eye. That's a very good point. And I love this film. I mean, the film is quite mysterious in so many ways. You're not quite sure what the hell is going on. But this kind of thing is all of this in this guy's head? And I would say pretty conclusively yes. Which is why this world is like it is. And it does have a wonderful kind of touch of not Resident Evil, Silent Hill kind of stuff going on. I mean, you can almost imagine that this is somebody who's got like a severe agoraphobia kind of thing. This is their sort of mental journey from one end of a corridor to another. That this is a kind of like heightened reality sort of presentation of that kind of stuff. What are horror people going to do? Horror film characters going to do now? That vaping's taken over smoking. Nobody's going to be walking around with a Zippo anymore. I love how the decay of this corridor is just like this. slightly foreboding, kind of claustrophobic type of space is just transforming around him bit by bit. And it is a film that is almost, you know, for the majority, a lot of it's about kind of like the atmosphere that's being sort of generated, but there is a, you know, a coherent thread which runs underneath that, the story. And though the story is unspoken, it all kind of fits together. It's not a surprise to me that this has got so many awards. It's very gratifying. I'm so proud of those guys for actually sort of getting on with this. I believe my other student colleague, Paul DeZero, is the producer of this. And he's gone on to do the other film that I was going to do tonight, which is a feature-length film. A friend of mine from college was the same. Glenn said, focusing on a character wasn't deemed important. He focused on the props and set. Yes. Yes. You focus enough on the characters that are important in any given scene. And sometimes, you know, if you want to kind of enhance a feeling with with those characters, you can put them into semi-darkness. You know, you don't have to have them absolutely kind of in your face, sort of visible. And unfortunately, it's a lot of people who kind of like our directors and stuff struggle with that kind of idea because, you know, West End and that kind of stuff tends to be very, very brightly lit. Do a Kubrick or Malick, use natural light. You can absolutely do that. Carry a few reflectors around. But you can light with anything. It's just kind of case of position is almost king. You know, with post-production and that kind of stuff, you can adjust color temperatures and stuff. But positioning of lighting is massively important. It's like, what the fuck is that? It's like just the spikes coming out of the floor and the walls, and this kind of monstrous creature that you can only in part see. It's really quite eerie. Popping by to say hello, can't stop. Enjoy your karaoke, mate. Seriously, I know you love that. Have a good time. Is he take the red pill or the blue pill? Again, same set, different colour. It's looking very 2001, kind of like end of 2001. Because you just, even with the lighting and stuff like that, the difference in kind of what the space represents changes so radically. It's got to be a challenge for the actor as well, you know, because he's not doing an awful lot of vocal work, shall we say. Everything is physical. And you know, one of the things about acting not everybody sort of realises is it's very different for the stage to what it is on film and TV, because film and TV is so close up, you have to be very subtle with what you do. Every tiny little movement is just turned up to 11. So hitting that right kind of level is difficult. It's not to say that film is more difficult than theatre, but it's a very different process. If you ever see film TV stars when they first do like kind of theatre stuff, for instance, they have to learn to really kind of rack things up somewhat, and quite the opposite the other way around. You get Brian Blessed, who's like, he's a stage actor. He's very much a stage actor, and then you see him on the film and TV, and his performance is still at, kind of like I'm in Shakespeare's Globe Theatre kind of levels. And that's why he seems so kind of like, astonishingly egregious, not egregious, so astonishingly kind of like in your face with everything he does. But we love him for it. So, face the hell beast or crawl into the deep dark hole. Yeah, Gordon's alive. I love Blessed in Flash Gordon. Yes, it's the one he's most remembered for, and God love him. He absolutely embraces it. He just had a lot of fun with it. I keep wanting to. I sort of half expect to see like the kind of like Silent Hill nurses shuffling in. I mean, it's a wonderful bit of set work. At so many occasions within this 20 minutes, you sort of look at little things that are going on. I say little; they're actually quite big within the movie. But just the way the sets are handled, they feel desperately uncomfortable. It's like when the spikes come out the walls and up the floor and all that kind of stuff. It's quite visceral feeling. I do. Thank you. It's a very nice of you, film scene. I do feel live streams fairly often. I am actually sort of thinking about kind of mixing things up a little bit and changing some things about the way the channels work and the way the live streams work and that kind of thing. Because I've had a few years of just being a little bit kind of, well, I say a little bit, a lot quieter with what's going on and that kind of stuff, and I want to change that. Find a way for make this work for me as well, in a better fashion. But there you go. And that's Chain, ladies and gentlemen. Produced by Paul Desir and Christopher Reith, my colleagues from university. I'm so proud of them. They've done so well. I can't say too much how much I would love to see them really get a kind of big break and all that kind of stuff. That could be a curse in its own right as a creative, but they deserve, they've done so well. They've done so well. I'm so proud of them. Pretty cool, man. Really enjoyed it. Bit of a mix between Repulsion Spider and Shock Corridor. Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily the most original in most respects, but it takes its inspirations and it does it well. And that's quite something. It just elements of that film that really do sort of it gets your skin crawling. It's actually quite viscerally uncomfortable. But I like that. I'm glad you guys liked it as well. So the next film The next film will be The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. If I I'll take the link and I'll shove it in the chat again, just so we're all on the same page. And we will get cracking in a little while with that. But if we get a chance, and then we'll, maybe in a few weeks' time, we'll sit down, we'll watch the other film, which is a much more of it's a feature film, it's a science fiction kind of deal. Looks like it could be quite interesting. And there's a few British films. You don't get to see enough British films, I don't think, not kind of British independent films. And I've seen a few over the years which are definitely worth a bit of time. And it's just a refreshing change from the kind of usual Hollywood stuff that, most people will end up getting to watch. Great set work, lighting and acting, right length as well. Yes, absolutely. It's not an idea that I think needed to be dragged out any more than it was. You could argue that maybe it should have been a tiny bit shorter, but that's sort of neither here nor there. I think that 20 minutes was a good time for that idea. And, congratulations to them on getting plenty of awards and stuff like that. Always nice to get recognised, isn't it? I was going to watch Shock Corridor a few weeks ago, but went to watch Fuller's first movies. Okay. Most British movies are funded either by BFI, the National Lottery, or both. Yes, they are. We're very fortunate to have those things. BFI is one of those, some people will argue a certain fault to them, but I think they are a force for good when it comes to the film world, particularly British filmmaking. And it's been some good films funded by both the lottery and the BFI. And, you go, thankfully, those things exist. Some people go, it's a waste of money, should be making their own movie. I happen to think that culture is something that is worth investing in. I think it's it's one of the literal signs of the degradation of a society. When you stop worrying about those things, when you stop being concerned about having creative outlets, I think they are a sign of a healthy society when you have support for that kind of thing. Anyone who goes, kind of our films and stuff like, they should always make money. Same with theatre. Anyone who says that is missing the point of art and what place it should have in any given society. Talking about independent cinema, I picked up Garage a few weeks ago. True Irish cinema starring Pat Short from The Dumbelievables, directed by Lenny Abramson. He did Frank. Okay. Yeah, Kerry's really kind of up on all the Irish cinema from conversations that we've had. I must admit it is a bit of a blind spot of mine. About the most Irish culture that I tend to have is either Guinness or Father Ted. To my shame, I was born over there, so I really should pay a bit more attention, I guess. One of my old classmates is currently trying to screen a short film at festivals. If you want to, I'll show it to you once she puts it online. Yes, please do. Right. I suggest that everybody gets hooked up on that link and starts giving us a thumbs up. We are going to be watching The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Really the one that made Dario Argento's name in giallo. I can't remember if I've seen this or not, actually. I've seen bits of it. Fuller is one of the all-time greats, Kieran, mate. His work's so powerful. Pick up South Street. It's a masterpiece, as is Crimson Kimono. Absolute hero of mine. Yeah. You see, this is the thing. I'm always constantly in awe of some of you guys' breadth of knowledge. It's always quite heartwarming to see that I'm not the smartest person in the room. I just rabbit on about it a lot and have kind of flashy lights and stuff. Actually, it would depend if short has subtitles, because if you can imagine, it ain't in English. Oh, I think if you are a filmmaker, it's nice if you can do that consideration. Obviously, it can cost money to put subtitles on, and it's a lot easier, I think, to actually sort of put subtitles on for English than it is other languages necessarily. French is not a hard one to do. German's not a hard one to do. Italian's not a hard one to do. Spanish is not a hard one to do. It's when you start getting into the sort of the Balkans and again like other countries where the language isn't as used around the world. But if you can do it, it's definitely worth doing. And I think it's something that British films should absolutely be doing. Chain didn't need it, obviously. There's not even a single word kind of mentioned throughout. I don't think you need to translate, do you? So, ah, dear. 40 Guns is his best Western. Really broke the mould. Yeah, it's something I've got to start watching a few more. It's the classic Westerns. I do have some spaghetti Westerns, which are really good films. For the longest time, I didn't sit down and watch Westerns. I had zero interest in that. Because, I guess I was sort of expecting just bog standard Western. I don't think I really have any interest in stuff like the regular Hollywood Westerns. Most of them aren't that interesting to me, although Shane is quite good. But I should give a few of them, a bit more of a chance. But I don't want to see kind of like the romanticized sort of lone hero kind of thing. It's very little interesting in that unless the character is really kind of thought out. French YouTuber recently did a great video on 10 cult spaghetti westerns. Oh, that sounds interesting. Have we got subtitles on there? On the video. That's the one thing. Right, start getting us a thumbs up when you're ready, guys. Or just say, okay, we're ready, and we'll get cracking with the bird with the crystal plumage. I thought it might be quite a nice one considering what we watched the other week. Are you subscribed to Le Movie Geek by any chance? It's kind of wearing your nationality on your sleeve, isn't it? You guys ready? Because I'm going to get going. Just for clarity, we are watching Geologist. God, that's a really tough name to say. Fantastic. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Adam. Fantastic. All right, guys. Then we will start on 5 as usual and go on go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. A Titanus presenter. It's not quite 20th Century Fox, is it? Oh, black gloves. It's going to be worth a sip. I love that, with Giallo, one of the tropes is always, the black leather gloves, just because you might recognise the guy, or the killer, or woman, from their hands. I love how with the camera sort of shots and all that sort of stuff that's going on with this, it is one of those things that films do, isn't it? It's like with Dawn of the Dead. You got the binoculars and you get that sort of shaped kind of thing. to signify the that he's looking through binoculars. They do the same with the cameras and stuff like that. It's more relevant today than it was back then, because obviously you have digital cameras. It gives you a preview. But yeah. It's a very up close and personal photo, isn't it? Apparently Argento did most of the black glove scenes himself in his movies. So hand actor. This and Profondo Rosso are my favourite gialli. It's always a hard choice for me. There's some really great ones. Argento actually toyed with the mystery black-gloved killer in a more standard crime flick from 1969. It's called Comandamenti per un Gangster. See, I haven't really sort of studied Argento's kind of history prior to this. It's something I should really look into. But a lot of these Italian filmmakers, obviously, they worked with like great filmmakers before they made it themselves. It's a very different kind of setup to how it is these days in some respects, but yeah. Of course, Bava used the black-clad motif as early as Blood and Black Lace, yeah. That's another filmmaker I've got there. There's a box set of Bava stuff that I would like to get, actually. Argento co-wrote Once Upon a Time in the West. Really? I've seen that. Great film. Glass. Always bad news in an Argento film. It's a fascinating scene, this. This whole idea that, you just glass seems very important to Argento. It's used in so many kind of like ways, often just as a means of having this sort of visceral kind of cutting edge, literally. But I love this kind of idea that you can see you're that close, to be able to help. Being able to help, and you can't do it, which is just evokes kind of real feeling of horror when you imagine that kind of situation. Yeah, you're quite right, Kieran. Loving the dub in its very heightened and almost farcical. It was always a problem with, particularly European films. Obviously, because they were speaking different languages a lot of the time. So they never really recorded on set. It was just all kind of, well, I guess, ADR'd. And that had its advantages as a kind of means of production. really need to see more Bava. Absolutely love Planet of Vampires and Black Sunday. Apparently directed some of Inferno when Argento was ill. What a cool group of filmmakers. Yeah, and they're so kind of like everything crosses over with that. I mean, Euro filmmakers in general. When you like the kind of like trashier end of it, stuff like, you know, Jess Franco's and Bruno Mattei and Jean Rollin, they were constantly working on each other's films. I mean, those guys really did the sort of bread and butter sort of films. Argento never really sort of struck me as the kind that particularly needed that. But I'm sure he did more than enough, more than his fair share. Seen nearly 20 of Bava's work, only 4 more of his movies left for me to see. It's because this is one of those other things that happens with Gialli. It's a deprivation of sound and half remembered moments. Often that, you know, you get those kind of like flashbacks, and each time they flash back to it, they pick up a little bit more on each occasion. It's a wonderfully elegant way to do these things. Apparently Argento's making a new movie again, this time with Isabelle Huppert. Now that should be interesting, yeah. I'd love to see him make another really great film. Monica, did you bleed on any of my exhibitions? Can you see how much white there is around it? How dare you bleed all over that? Then he'll go and sell it as a masterpiece. Only one I got the first time was Deep Red. So I saw the reflection and knew the killer was when she appeared later. I've also had a bit of an interest in giallo, you know, particularly because just Italian filmmaking in general has always been an area of fascination since I really started thinking about movies. Giallo takes a little bit of getting into on occasions, you know, from a fresh start. But the more you watch of them, the more interesting they become. Get some great suggestions for watching. Oh, it was O.J. Simpson all along. Sounds really easy to crack just by taking notice of the suspects' occupations. They can have a tendency to sort of go down a Scooby-Doo line. That is one thing about them, just an ultra-violent version of that. Have you seen that Adrian Brody film called Giallo? I haven't, but I've heard it's a homage to the Italian horrors. No, I haven't, actually. It is one that I had meant to watch, but I'd completely forgotten about since. It'll be interesting to see that, actually, as a non-Italian film. I think, several countries made giallo kind of sort of inspired films along the way. Oh, you could look at Suspiria and people go, that's a giallo. Of course, it's not really a giallo. But there's similarities and kind of things that are lifted from the giallo genre and put into that. You can argue that it's because it's Argento that it's not really him lifting, it's just his style. I've got one up there called Death Laid an Egg, which is kind of entertaining. I do love the names of some of the giallo. Oh, is it? Oh, it's not so good. Yeah, because I forgot that was Argento did that. Ah. Yeah, I had sort of meant to watch it when it was first being kind of talked about. It's kind of a bit weird in some respects that Argento's filmmaking really changed radically, kind of like in the 90s. Yes, I've got that actually, Kieran. It's up there somewhere. There it is. Is that it? Oh no, that's not it. I've got it somewhere, but do have that as well. I just want this a bit to be kind of like with the Exorcist theme. Joe D'Amato was the DOP on Solange. Very well shot movie. Yeah, there's a good example of another director that went off and did the trashy movies and all that kind of stuff. But basically learnt from the craft from some very, very good filmmakers. Joe D'Amato is an interesting director in many respects to me. Just nearly had my head chopped off. I'm fine. It's all right. It's all cool. He missed. Footprints on the Moon from '75. Beautiful mystery thriller. I wore the VHS out on that one. Can't imagine it was the only film that you wore the VHS out on. John consumes movies in a way that is extraordinary. D'Amato's first few proper gigs were on sets with Renoir and Godard, if I recall. Yeah, it was an industry that really kind of, particularly the Italian film scene. It's an industry that really sort of took a lot of time and effort to breed the next generation of directors. Be great to do a stream of Theatre of Blood with Vincent Price and Diana Rigg one evening. Okay, that's an interesting one. I'm trying to think of different ways of going about doing my reviews and stuff like that that doesn't make the process quite so onerous. Time and energy makes it very difficult to do what I used to do. That's kind of why it's so slow these days. But I have written a hell of a lot on the Invasion of the Body Snatchers first two movies so far. It's quite a lot to record and edit. Doesn't seem like a terribly, shall we say, fair process, does it? List all of the faults and their convictions. That's not gonna like skew your judgment of them at all, is it? It must be scientific as reel to reel in the back. Shall we give it a look? Better. Yeah, we can give that a look. Oh, the acting's better than Albert Wesker, isn't it? The acting in Resident Evil games is quite something, isn't it? Wow. This is almost sci-fi, isn't it? From this picture, we can deduce that the criminal is particularly dotty. And for me, Corman's one of the producers that's really kind of reflects the sort of the exploitation, Euro exploitation kind of scene. Just the way the films are made and all that kind of stuff. And I love the fact that, you know, so many people have come out of his movies and sort of made bigger careers. Just completed a Resident Evil remaster for PS4. Nostalgia. Well, I've just ripped all of my PS1 games and stuff, but that's the one that I have the most nostalgia for. If you with Batzella on YouTube, just type in his name. It's often the first result. 5 minutes long. Don't understand a thing he says, but it's probably as vacuous as his movies. I will have a look at that later. Resident Evil 2 on PS1 was awesome. Love the overlap of the character storylines. Yes, that was quite a big deal. You know, you had like 4 routes essentially you could take with the game. Yeah, I don't know why they kind of missed out on that on the remakes. But if I remember right, it's yeah. I was just trying to remember if it was 2-disc job. But the obvious PlayStation nostalgia, Tomb Raider. Blown away by that game when it first came out. Corman is my hero, so inspiring for indie filmmakers. People say it was Easy Rider, but he was doing Creature from Ocean Floor and Attack of the Crab Monsters as well before then, yeah. Yeah. He absolutely kind of embodied independent filmmaking, didn't he, really? You know, you know, it was, a lot of it was cash grab and stuff like that, but there was some great stuff came out as well. But it was a great sort of breeding ground for new talent. Not that it would, yeah. It's not that it would have taken up a lot of room, but probably wanted to focus more on the story. Yeah, yeah. I must admit, even like, you know, the Resident Evil 2 remake and stuff like that just doesn't have the charm of the original. For me, anyway. Yeah, it's prettier and all, but didn't like crab monsters very much. Quite boring. You're going to expect a certain amount of trash, though, ain't you? When it comes down to that. It's rather lascivious kind of guy, isn't he? 300. But I'm sure we can, you know, negotiate. Oh, quite right, Enrib. It really did sort of change the game, in a manner of speaking. it's easy to look at it now and go, oh, it's really difficult to look at and stuff. And even I feel that way, when you're playing it these days. It's a little kind of brain splitting sometimes, but it's wow. I mean, the impact it made was incredible. Tomb Raider is one of the best games ever. The story, scope of the levels, not to mention the two major assets. And the non-existent promise of the nude code. It is a little disturbing, isn't it? Comes where early work is bad, but you don't make Master of Red Death or House of Usher without practice. It kind of went for it, though, didn't it? That's the thing. He made a career out of it, and took a load of people along with him. The movies were often secondary to, well, the quality of the movies is often secondary to the commercial viability of them, but yeah. This is wonderfully kind of. I'm talking about a lot about lighting and stuff today. Fascinatingly lit shot. I mean, the scale of the lighting on this is quite amazing. But this Dario Argento does often have these like really kind of epic shots. There's a lot going on. Sometimes things are very, very far away. It doesn't always sort of like just kind of make it all claustrophobic and stuff. It's really kind of taking the whole vista into account. I look how small the object within this shot is. It's tiny, 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 right down at the bottom of the screen, just kind of like sort of there. And he has a fascination for the architecture as well. I mean, just the weirdness of this building. He likes his red buildings, doesn't he? The original Little Shop of Horrors. I'm a big fan of the musical. God, that's a nightie that's barely worth wearing, isn't it? See, I think it was Corman. As much as it was a money maker, I think he just enjoyed making films. They'd have as much fun as they could wherever they could, from what I can tell, anyway. Smoking in bed. Mildly uncomfortable. I just love his work. So inspirational to me. He might not have made a movie if not for Corman. It really showed me how you can do it. Just have to go for it. It's true of a lot of your muses, though, isn't it, John? Everybody, Pittsburgh crowd, and those guys just went out and made movies as best they could with whatever they could. A lot of the time it was shit, but yeah, they got more than their fair share of gems as well. Right. New bottle of beer. There is something about the violence when it comes to giallo films that is so, particularly for the time, so astonishingly visceral. I mean, it's not always particularly explicit either. I was like with that previous scene that we had, you don't see a lot. It's just things happen. You don't really see impact in that sort of thing all the time. But it's incredibly disturbing how much of a close focus these films take with that. And of course, it's one of the signatures of giallo in general, is how much attention it kind of pays to the kills. Particularly, with Argento and stuff, it's generally kind of inflicted upon women as well. So there's this sort of double-edged sword, so to speak, of this kind of brutal, often very almost sensual kind of violence that's going on, or sexual violence on occasions as well. Which is, you can imagine, at the time, being a British censor and seeing one of these films come in was probably incredibly difficult for them to be able to do anything with it. And particularly with like kind of knife play and stuff like that. That's not a current concern. That's something that's been a concern with theirs for quite some time. There you go again with that half remembered sort of things, and you see a little bit more. The character's journey. It's hazy memories are always such a big thing. Giallo, you often think it's just like really kind of the gloves, but there's things like the glass, and in this case, it's glass as a cage as opposed to a very visceral kind of pain that we can understand, but half remembered. Constantly revisiting memories of the event, seeing a little bit more each time. It's a fascinating sort of part because it really does sort of put you into the brain of the character that you're following. But that kind of thinking, that kind of approach to the storytelling is very interesting in some respects. It's the whole kind of journey that it takes you on, and just this almost obsessive kind of search for the tiniest little details. I love this sort of thing. It's like this kind of setup, this kind of scene happens quite often, particularly in Italian films. Everybody gathers around the television shop to watch the TV. And you wonder how loud that TV must be in there so they can hear it through the glass, but the mocking phone call. And of course we got, like Fulci does, New York Ripper, and it's just like the Donald Duck character. And there's nothing subtle about that movie. Jesus. Do love Morricone's work on his Argento films too. The voice is haunting in this movie, really working, showing the disturbed mind of a killer. Yeah, it's become kind of a trope though, as well, and you sort of have to resist that sometimes, that feeling that's what it is, because it can get so overused. I mean, because they did the same thing in like Scream and stuff like that. The voice on the phone, the mocking voice. At least he doesn't sound like a duck. Yes. I mean, New York Ripper for me was just like one of the dumbest movies I've watched in a very long time. Um, it's not a charming movie in the slightest. Interesting way to put that, a little bit of wisdom, but to learn the handstand, you have to fall 1,000 times. I kind of like it. He's an interesting character, isn't he? Corn was not afraid to fail each time he made a bad film. He got feedback and information and learned. Well, hopefully everybody does that in aspects of their life. It's a good way to run your life in general, isn't it? I just trying to sort of remember, like, he looks like the guy, one of the guys from Salo. This is such a big part of cinema. I was watching Halloween 3 the other day. Forgot how creepy the score was. Yeah, it's an interesting film, Halloween 3. I don't think I'd hold it up as being an absolutely amazing film, but it is a very entertaining film, and I think a lot more interesting than almost every Halloween film. In fact, probably every Halloween film that was after it. Invasion of the Body Snatchers referencing H3 too. Well, I've just about finished writing up the second of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers films, so I'm close to getting onto the third iteration of it. I'm in an iron as to whether or not I even bother with the Nicole Kidman Daniel Craig version. It's going to be very much a footnote, I think, because it is such a badly botched film. It's not really that much to say about it. But maybe I'm just being a little unfair. Maybe I've got to try to see past the faults of the film. I'm just trying to find, just trying to see who that is, the killer guy there. Is it going to make it obvious? Probably not. Oh, it's interesting enough, as was mentioned earlier, it's got credit for Dario Argento as the murderer's hands. Nah, I'm not going to find out. I'll have to look at that up after. Actually watched Curse H2O and Resurrection for the first time this October. God, Resurrection was bad. They've just become increasingly pointless to me. Interestingly enough, though, I think it might have been Richard posted that there may be a uncut release of Friday the 13th in Britain coming out. Yeah, because we've had the R-rated version since the initial classification. But apparently now there's the uncut version, which is like about apparently like 10 seconds or so. Oh dear, you're looking for a hitman, you walk into the hitman's annual convention. Bright yellow jacket is an interesting wardrobe choice for an assassin, but now we know why. You have the Shout Factory box. There'd be gun residue on their hands as well, so every one of them should be checked for that. Yeah, they did. I mean, Friday the 13th got more and more pointless as it went along as well, as did Nightmare on Elm Street. This went, oh, the last one made a load of money. Let's make another one. That's pretty much drove it. Yeah, you can sort of switch off and find some sort of light entertainment from it, I guess. But gonna have to sit through the Rob Zombie remake at some point. Oh no. See, the problem with Halloween and stuff like that is the story is very, very small. It's very thin. So, you know, you tell it once what you're going to tell going on. And then they end up sort of like stripping it of mystery because you go, oh, here's the origins of this character. Here's the origins of that character. None of that stuff you need to know for a film like Halloween. Halloween's a very simple premise, as is Friday the 13th, as is Nightmare on Elm Street. You don't need to be getting into origin stories and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, they never really have places to go with it. And then, you know, particularly Halloween, Jesus Christ, how weird did it get towards the end of the franchise? You know, shall we say, the classic franchise. Just secret societies and all that kind of shit going on. It's like, really? Okay. I mean, it's a reason why they always kind of like went, oh, well, this new film's coming out, it's going to ignore the last two films. Kind of mentality. You know you're in trouble when you get to that point. It's kind of insulting for the audience, isn't it, really, when filmmakers do that. More producers than filmmakers, I guess. Another one of those things. Cutthroat razor, straight razor. Watched a 3-hour making of Rob Zombie's Halloween while I was working out today. To be honest, Zombie comes across as a bit of an iron fist while directing. I think that's mostly because he's not given much of a budget. It's you got to get it done. Got to get it done. Get it done. Get it done. Not an awful lot of time for messing around. Halloween and Texas Chainsaw franchises, of course, corrected or have, of course, failed about half a dozen times each. Yes. It's another film that didn't really stand kind of like multiple retellings, essentially. It's Texas Chainsaw. The mystery of what is going on, the horror of this kind of seemingly random event, is what part of what made Texas Chainsaw so scary. The more you got to know of them, the less interesting it was. The scene is totally dressed to kill. Never noticed that before. Yeah. These films did, influence a number of American directors. You look at Twitch of the Death Nerve, and that's inspired a few films, not least Friday the 13th. But when you look at something like Twitch of the Death Nerve or Bay of Blood, that movie, and then you look at Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, the original one, the first one is, I think for a modern audience, it's a little bit boring, but it's okay for what it is. It's a little by the numbers, but the numbers hadn't really been kind of solidified or codified. So it just did some stuff that most American audiences hadn't really seen, particularly. But the difference of how interesting those two films is, on a narrative level, is worlds apart. Because Bay of Blood is a fascinating movie. Not least because of the character interactions, and it is one of those. It's like just about everybody in that film is an abhorrent kind of nightmare, to one extent or another. It's always that sort of slight lack of guilt when you see people, lack of guilt or sorrow when you see people get dispatched in that movie. Now, films like this, the characters are a bit more kind of ambiguous in many respects. You got heroes who turn out to be villains, and all that kind of stuff sort of goes on. They're really twisted in that respect. First TCM is one of the few horrors to make its protagonist hippies, yes. Yeah, it gave you just enough sort of information on the protagonist, for you to actually sort of care what was going on. The fact that when Franklin gets kind of chopped up is, there's a certain kind of, he's an annoying character and all that kind of stuff, but what happens to him is particularly brutal, and it's not a pleasant scene. The fact they could actually sort of pull that off is quite amazing. It's like, this TV's broken, its picture's not changed. It's been weeks. Friday 2 stole 2, or actually 3 murder scenes from Bay of Blood, yeah. I think they were inspired by. Also been revisiting the Friday films. The last one I sat through was part 6, which is by far the best. I enjoyed about the first 3, and the others after that were it just kind of went downhill. It's more of the same. Part of the problem is they always try to make them funnier and funnier as they go along. There's always these kind of gags that go on, and it just gets more and more ridiculous and less involving. I mean, I only like the third one because it's kind of just, it's just a bit bonkers, to be honest with you. doing all the 3D sort of stuff, like kind of thing going on. There's lots of poking of sticks at the camera and stuff like that. God, you gotta miss the 80s 3D films. They're so crass, it's unreal. Never guessed Tenebrae. I was genuinely shocked at the reveal. There are so many giallo films, and there's a lot of them that just don't work. Argento's work, even when they're not the best crafted in terms of the story, just because he really does know how to shoot a film. Well, more so back in those days. Yeah, part 3 is crass as hell, but I do have a certain, I guess, almost a nostalgic sort of feel for it, because I do remember it being on that video, in the video stores and stuff like that. There's always something quite alluring about that cover. I think it was the first one I saw as well, was the third one. Poking at the camera, that's a technical term. It is. Yeah. This is the straight poke. This is the 45-degree poke. This is the surprise from below poke. If you're talking about meta horror, Horror High was the first one I saw. I think it was self-referential. Gotta put anything in cupboards these days, don't they? Surprise! Glad you could, yeah, I'm here to help. Science. Does it make me seem old if I go, I used to work with equipment like that? He blinded me with science, to paraphrase Tom Stop. Yes. Speaking of Friday 3, I watched Warlock by Steve Miner earlier today. Fun watch, and Julian Sands' rest in peace is superb in it. Steve Miner was responsible for one of the worst bastardization of George Romero's work I've ever seen as well, which is unfortunate. I go to the Retro Computing Museum in I was at the Computing Museum in Cambridge, and I'm looking at a lot of the storage like mediums. Go, used to use that, used to use that, used to use that. Shit, I used to work with these actual museums these days. That's the computer world. It's changed so much in relatively short time. Kanda, Necronomicon. Lost Steve Minerman house is pretty cool, yeah. I'm more thinking of the Day of the Dead remake that he did. I mean, my God. Hey Glenn, I was watching your Dead Actors vid. I forgot what it was called. It's crazy how ahead of the game you were in that vid and where we are now. I wanted from the future. Yes. Yeah. It was. It's not exactly prophetic what I did, but you can see how it's going. They start off and they always go like, oh no, we'll be very careful and sensitive about how we do this kind of stuff. You know, that's not going to last long. It's Hollywood, for fuck's sake. But yeah. Also, happy birthday, thank you. Such a strange ambience, Mr. Roboto by Sticks with Glenn talking. Never seen House. There's that wacky Japanese one and the Steve Miner one. Seen neither. The House films are worth watching. They're all very different. There's like 3, if I remember right. Is it 3 or 4? They're all very different stories, but they're kind of like, sort of a theme, kind of continuing. First one's quite funny. Yeah, I did that same with the camera now, mate. Like it's crazy. Shot 16mm when I started, then high 8 and digitapes. Students now think I'm a dinosaur. Each medium has its qualities. It's quite interesting, I think, to play with the formats. 16 is great, like, for kind of recreating that low budget sort of feel. Looks like a lovely little place, doesn't it? Go to blazes. Classy way of saying fuck off. I wonder how many takes that took. God. It's the hills have eyes, isn't it? Which one was it? Jupiter? You know, in hindsight, I feel that OJ would have made a more convincing Terminator. Yeah, it's kind of funny they went, oh no, nobody would really kind of like take him for the killer. But yeah. The tortured artist. Definitely would have been a very different feel. Yeah, that's the thing. There was Lance Henriksen supposed to have been. I mean, the roles were all going to be very different, weren't they? But it worked out well. Because Schwarzenegger was supposed to be Carl Reese, if I remember right. Lance Henriksen at one point was going to be the Terminator, which would have made more sense, but cat. I'm Catman. Oh, that's dinner. Bean was a late choice, as I remember. Just it's a rather overt bit of comedy in this, isn't it? Really, the whole scene. Yes. And for some reason now I can't get the taste of pussy out of my mouth. She's like, oh, what do you mean? It's a cat, actual cat. Yeah, Captain Caveman, indeed, John. It's good to see that the killers actually managed to, replace the gloves and all. They tend to wear the same hats as well, don't they, these killers? Like black trench coat type thing or a duster. Same kind of hat. Leather gloves. This question, what minute mark are we at? We are currently at 1 hour, 13 minutes and 35 seconds. About 20 minutes to go. Did you not learn anything from other movies? Don't open the door. I always wonder when people are using phones and stuff like that, the old-fashioned types of phones and stuff these days, what a brand new audience, a young audience's experience of that is. Why don't you have it in your emergency contacts? Well, it didn't work like that. Do you think you're going to get through that one tiny little window? And why does she not go for the one that's lower down so she doesn't have to try to climb like that, lift herself up through broken glass? Seems to be on hiatus. Did not expect to get acknowledged in the stream of Giant. Oh, for God's sake, woman, he's given you all the time in the world. All you've got to do is go grab a weapon and defend yourself. Just don't sit there cowering. Watched Hills Have Eyes remake last night. Chuckled when they had to make excuses as to why there was no signal. Every movie had to do that for a few years in the 2000s, yes. It's kind of ruined the tension in a lot of movies, isn't it? He's going out that door like a fucking woodpecker, isn't he? I mean, seriously, how long did he think he had? It's like, yeah, okay, I've got a 2-inch hole here. Okay, keep going at it. We'll be through it by the end of tomorrow. The audio for Terminator was originally mixed in mono due to budgetary restraints. Yeah, people forget that. It started off as a low-budget movie. I'm actually one of the people that kind of go, I like the first Terminator film more than the second one. I just love the feel of that movie. He's using his cock to stab the door. Some people might read it like that. I love the fact that they've just left the candlestick up in that window, like kind of hanging over the bed. After all that, they didn't lock the fucking door. These people deserve to die. Frankly. Original Hills is so dull, I appreciate a remake for simply being faster paced and being gorier. I wouldn't say the first one was dull. It is a very different pace, though, I'll grant you that. But the nuclear testing thing is actually kind of in the first one as well. Oh, JB. Take a sip. So the killer fucks exotic birds. Okay. No, it is now. Yeah, it's fair enough. I think I prefer the original just because of Michael Berryman in it. He plays a good psycho. And, you know, for its time, it was actually genuinely quite disturbing, some of the stuff that was going on in that film. The Hills Have Ice 2, now that was not a great movie. Splat. Oh, yeah, I got White Dog. Quite a controversial film. Stethoscope through the shirt and all that kind of stuff. Nah, it's fine. He's going to be one of these buggers that wakes up in, wakes up in the morgue kind of thing. I mean, oh, it's such a surprise. When you get a medical examination like that, it's like no fucking surprise it happens. Yeah, John does talk like that. It's all good. See a scene like that with the falling scene, all that kind of stuff. I always get this little bit of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy sort of go from there, the radio series. It's like kind of Arthur Dent falls off a bird. He lands on a bird, and then the bird's like, "I'm not taking you where you want," so he goes off again. The bird's just like, when you get to the ground, just bend at the knees and roll with it. It's like 2 miles up. I haven't seen that, Kieran. See, there's a lot of shots like this in Argento's stuff, where a simple shot might have sufficed, but he really kind of makes something very elaborate. It's one of those things that he does quite a lot, is he does that sort of rising shot and then going over rooftops and all that kind of stuff. Just kind of gives you an idea of, like, scale. Screw this bitch selling that. I'm going home, yeah. Sometimes I meet people who prefer Terminator 2 over the Terminator. In that exact moment, I know that we can never really be friends. I think Terminator 2 is a more easily kind of digestible film. It's slicker, it looks nicer. Everything about it's had a lot more money spent on it, and they got all the flashy stuff like the CG effects and all that kind of stuff going on. Whereas the first one is just a out and out low budget sci-fi action movie. But that's kind of what I like about it. It's a lot more threatening as movies go as well, generally. Soundtrack of the first one's really good as well. It's very 80s. But I remember watching that, like, in the 80s, the Terminator. It's stuff like, kind of like peeling out the eyeball and all that kind of stuff. That sort of stuff really kind of stayed with me. That's what that kind of film looked like in those days. And of course, the second one got made and Cameron had shit tons more money. It was a very much more Hollywood kind of production. But I love the grittiness of the original. And I'll always remember first time I heard that line, it's like you got it just taking the eyeball out, puts the sunglasses on, and landlord's like kind of like, "What, you got a dead cat in there?" It's just like going through the options. Fuck you, asshole. Fuck you, asshole. That's great. Talking lighting again. How many times he's walking through shadows. Oh, she blinked. Does make me laugh when people point that out a lot. It's like, oh, we're clearly not dead because she blinked. And I can't remember what movie it was that there's a bit where this guy the Red Letter Media kind of repeated like about 60 times in a cycle. Guy in a quad comes around the side of this tent, and there's a guy supposedly dead on the floor. Quad went straight over his damn head. They left it in the movie. Oh, wasn't Carl. Oh, come on, he's not that heavy. Quite right, Kerry. That's a nice twist. More beer, more beer. I have more beer. That laugh is Popeye. Yeah. Oh man, it's just that. You never get that shot out of my head. It's just like, oh my god. Oh, he blinked. Look, he's clearly not dead. Art is pain, man. Art is pain. You should have had some health and safety warnings around that sculpture. Order the Blackie. Okay. That's what I love about you guys. Just like it's so much useless shit in your head. It's great. This is a great sequence. I'm not saying much, but oh my god. Argento channeling Hitchcock again with his set pieces. Yes. Then they go and drop it on him, killed him. Bad Movie Bible host Rob Hill included in his Bondsploitation. I take a different note. I love her red hair, so sexy. Oh, I think she's the kind of epitome of the dangerous redhead. Have you ever thought of wondering what an undubbed Italian film would be as an experience? I've been watching Toho Godzilla movies where everyone's speaking their native tongue. Now, that's a problem for Italian movies because the actors come from all places across the world and they're all speaking their own languages. It wouldn't work, put it that way. Like I said earlier, these movies, they never recorded sound on stage. At least not sound that's intended to be used. So, yeah. But I agree, it's nice to watch movies in their native language. Sometimes it does help to have it dubbed, though. I've had a few Jess Franco movies that were very, very hard work because they were subtitled. Normally it doesn't bother me, but on that occasion it did. Well, I'd say the movies really do kind of say very different about Italy. Yeah, it'd be kind of a mess, but I think it'd be kind of fun to see some guy speaking German to some girl who's speaking Romanian. Yes, it could be. It could be funny. Yeah. I mean, because there was a lot of American and English actors also did all that sort of stuff, but they'd be speaking to someone who could only speak Portuguese or something like that. It'd be an astonishing mess, like you say. But yeah, it could be interesting. Could be interesting. I don't know if they recorded anything, as a reference. I imagine they probably did like reference recordings, just to get the timing right, apart from anything else. So yeah. But aside from that, yeah, they never go in the kind of like native language, so to speak. Exposition dump at the end, how very Italian. Yes, it's they're complicated films. There's always a lot of stuff going on, and they don't want to give the game away ahead of the time. It is a clunky part of Giallo in general, isn't it? I think it'd be remiss to be trying to hand wave that away. But I mean, Giallo does have an element of that, especially as they sort of, the genre kind of matured. You got all the conventions and all that kind of stuff, all the tropes that are involved with those movies. That it became something of a cliche to some extent. Worst stuff I had to watch was Roger Vadim's Blood and Roses. Such a beautiful movie, but hard to watch with subs with subs and original language. Wonderful movie. Yeah. So hard to find with subs and original language. Excuse me. Can't beat a bit of Argento, man. Great movie. Yeah, and we mentioned it the other week, and I thought it'd be worth a watch. That was good. That was actually quite good. I'm gonna have to watch it again when it's not just me rabbiting along, because it makes it very hard to follow along. But yeah, that was good. I did actually enjoy it. Italian movies tended to use crude sound equipment with no intent on using it, but they only did so to keep track of timing during the dubbing. Yeah, pretty much what I said there, wasn't it? Yeah. Spent the past few minutes trawling scenes of Order of the Black Eagle. It resulted in I'm going to take my headphones off. Apologies for any noise. I'm just going to hang on my mic. Spent past few minutes trawling scenes of Order of the Black Eagle, resulted in me thinking we have to watch it on a future stream. Forgot how special it is. Well, if you can find it, find a copy of it. Mad Foxes had one of the worst English dubs. Yes, yeah. I mean, I've always said with Mad Foxes that I think it's a terrible movie, and it is on so many levels, but it is entertaining. There's no denying the fact that you can sit through that and have a real good time. It's becoming an increasingly hard film to get hold of, though. That's one of the annoying things. It seemed quite good from what I saw of it. All 30 minutes of it. Yeah. You could always go back and watch it, though. Now you got a link. Wasn't Shakma in Order of the Black Eagle? I think you might be right. But anyway, let's call it an evening. Because quite frankly, I'm really quite tired at the moment for some reason. I don't know why, but there you go. It's been lovely to watch these things. Obviously, the first film was kind of like a bit more of a personal one because of my relationship with the people involved in making it. But hopefully, it'll be something of a inspiration for any of the budding filmmakers that are out there. Don't ever kind of like say, I can't make a movie. You can. You just have to sort of like work within your means and find the time to and find a passion to do it, and you'll get there. You might make a bad movie, but it might be a bad movie that's really entertaining and stuff. And you watch something like Dario Argento, and it seems like an impossible mission, but even he had to start somewhere. He ended up making movies like that, so why not? It's just a possibility. It's on you. Okay, cool. Right, so I'm going to say good night, folks. Thank you for joining. I will see you. I might see you next weekend. I'm still deciding whether or not I'm going to do my retro games night at work, whether it'll be next week or the week after. So it won't be any more than 2 weeks, I don't think, before we do another stream. I hope to do one next week, and I might be able to relate to you what being on a jury is like by that point. But for now, I shall say good night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and if you want to put suggestions into the Ramblaholics on Facebook, then if you're not already kind of on there, just private message me. I can add you to the group. That's usually where we meet up, and put kind of like suggestions or interesting articles and all that kind of stuff. So that's all there. But for the moment, I shall say good night and take care, folks, and see you on the next stream. Night night. Forgot to take the shot. TTF.